Hello, I'm Ramon and welcome back to All Scale RC. Here's the ROVAN F5. Right now it's not looking too pretty. The body is basically covered in Bitty Design liquid mask. I'm in the middle of prepping the body for paint. So been masking it, needs a couple more coats. So let's get the body out the way. Electronics are in. I changed my mind on what I was installing in this thing. We are still going with the Max 5 250 amp ESC. But I changed my mind as far as the motors, going with the 5618 1100 kV motor. Hopefully that will work out good in this. Not sure. Only one way to find out. And as far as the servos, I had to change the servos. Basically, the servos I was going to stick in here were too big. Here's the servo holes, and these holes will not accept anything larger than a 60 by 30 servo. Basically, I had two sets of servos here, two different sets. Tried both of them, none of them fit. Both of them were about 64 millimeters in length, and they wouldn't fit. So I called Fearless RC, which is where I got the car from, and they had the servos that do fit in this car in stock. These are 60 by 30. And I guess ROVAN makes their own servo, but this is a 65 kg servo, so I got two of them, got them in within about 2 days. So we're going to use those. Hopefully they're good. I kind of don't have a choice. The way these holes are, you can't take any meat away from the sides, or else you're gonna grind off where your screws go, and you're not gonna have anywhere for your screws to bite into. So basically, you want exact fit servos. There is not really much of a choice there. So let's move this motor mount and let's start building this thing. Oh, I forgot to mention that the 5618 1100 kV motor is actually censored, which is going to be a good thing. With as heavy as this car is, I was concerned with cogging. And by that motor being censored, we should not have cogging issues. I guess we'll see what happens. All right, it looks like there's 3 screws that hold this motor mount in. These 2 here, well, 3 screws at the bottom. These 2 here and this one here. I'll take a picture of them and highlight them. So the 3 screws are 3 millimeter screws. I'll be sure to Loctite those. Just heard it fall. And on top there's a shroud, and that takes a 2.5. It's a gear shroud. That's out. Oh, and one more screw. It's right here. I don't know what that piece is, but it has 6 holes in it. One of the holes has a screw. And I think that's another 3 mil. All right. So here's your motor mount. Now we need to open this up to remove this plate so we can attach the motor. That uses 5 millimeter bolts. I'm sticking this hex driver where the grub screw would go, because we need to undo this bolt off the front of the pinion, slide this off so we could slide the shaft of the pinion out, because it's in 2 pieces. It's not like your regular pinions where they have the neck with the grub screw on it. This is 2 pieces. So we need to remove this bolt. Good, it wasn't even tight. Let's not lose that. Now this is the part that's going to attach to the motor. All right, so here's actually the motor. This is a 5618 1100 kV. It is a pretty big motor. And it is censored. So this thing is probably going to work out very well. Here's the 250 amp ESC. That's what it looks like. I know some guys run the Max 4. Not sure if it was necessary at twice the price. This ESC is rated for 12S, so I think it should be okay. And if it's not, you can always change it out as long as it doesn't get cooked. And here's those servos. They are RS2065D. I got them from fearlessrc.com. This is the bag of hardware that's provided with the kit. Basically, you get a bearing. It's a carrier bearing. I'll show you where that goes in a minute. Well, that actually goes in this plate. That actually goes in this plate. right there. It's a carrier bearing. And you get a grub screw and 4 motor screws. We're going to mount the motor to the plate. Then we're going to put the neck of the pinion. I guess that's what you call it. Always double check, make sure everything's tight. Don't wait until something goes wrong and then be like woulda, shoulda, coulda, because by then it's too late. So always go back if you're using power tools, check everything. We need to get that neck on. The grub screw is a 3mm as well. Okay, that's on. Oh, I missed one small thing. I can't get this in without, because it would have had to slide in through here. But that's okay. I'm going to remove the front of the mount. Yeah, it doesn't seem like they were Loctite on any of those bolts or screws. That's going to have to work, because if I flip this back part of the motor mount over, the wires will be right along the drive shaft, and we don't want that. There is a little washer that goes on the back side of the pinion. Well, it goes over top of the neck and against the bearing right there. You don't want to lose that. And then your pinion goes there. So that's how that's going to go. I'm going to sit here and Loctite all this back together, and we'll continue on. Bad news is I realized I never soldered my connectors on my ESC, so I still have to do that too. All right, the connectors are on the ESC. I did want to point out something on the motor mount. On the second bracket that holds the motor in, I do see a little bit of daylight around the motor on some sides, which is telling me that this second part of the bracket isn't doing much. It will allow the motor to move. It's not going to move much, but I'm going to put some double-sided tape or something in there to really secure it. It's not going to help it by sticking. It's going to help by filling in the gap. Yeah, I had this thing cranked all the way down, and I hold it up to the light, and I see light around the motor. So I don't want that. Okay, for the pinion on this, the lock nut on the front uses a 10mm. On the neck that goes into the pinion, it has a neck with a square head, and that uses a 13mm. There is a threaded rod that goes in there that this lock nut screws onto. That threaded rod uses a 3mm hex drive to screw it down. So basically, you hold on to the square neck with your 13mm and you tighten it up with your 3mm. You'll see when you go to do it. If you have any questions, ask. Okay, motor sits right in there. Why does it sound like you're standing here already? Now I had like these weird retainer washer thingies. Guess they work. Okay, there's 3 of those retainers. We took them out earlier. They hold the motor mount. Okay, the spur was, the mesh was set from the factory, so I'm not messing with that. The motor is in. Remember, I did put some double-sided tape around the rear bracket because there was a gap on the hobby wing motor. If you're going with a castle or something like that, it might be a little girthier. So it might not have that issue, but on the hobby wing, I think you need to put something there. All right, the ESC drops right into the box. I want to make sure the ESC lines up with the hole for the fan before I put any double-sided tape in. Also, the rest of my wires need to line up too. Before you do that though, you need to put your switch in here before you go try to put the lid on. So that is a Phillips head. Okay, there's 2 Phillips head screws you have to undo to remove the bracket that holds your power switch. I just remove one, swing it out the way. Let's hope it fits. Like a glove. It's a perfect fit. How many times do you guys lose something because you put it in a safe place so that you don't lose it? Man, I spend half my time looking for stuff. ESC box has 2 body clips that hold it closed. The Hobby Wing 250 G2 and the power switch for the G2 are perfect in here. I don't know about anything else. I don't know how a Castle fits in here, but I know that the Hobby Wing 250 G2 fits perfect. It was made for this. Here's the sensor cable. Probably don't need that tag. It says make sure your ABC wires are connected correctly or the motor will be damaged. Tags off. I made a map of my ESC and let's hope we get these right. A is blue and A is the first slot. So B is yellow. I'm actually going to pop the cover off. Hold on. So that means C is orange. So A is blue, B is yellow, and C is orange. The gear shroud. So that should go right in. That's a smaller 2.5. Oh, that's not looking too bad. I have all the space in the world underneath this thing. I'm used to working on some smaller cars and you don't get much real estate. So let's get a couple zip ties on here. I know, I should use snips. The scissors were nearby. Spin those around so I don't see them. And here are those servos. They can't be no bigger than 60 by 30. Anything larger, it is not going in. Even these, I have trouble trying to get them in. Wow. Talk about tight fit. That's a tight fit. Now somewhere around here, there's some rubber little pieces that I believe have to go in here. They come with the servo screws. They're in my packet of goodies that came with this. So I have to make sure I put the little rubber retainers on for the servos. But honestly, these servos are not moving. Now I have to snake the second servo wire back past this one. Well, actually, wires need to come out this way. So I have to snake that one back across here. Sorry, I forgot to move the camera. I don't know if you guys see this. I didn't catch it earlier. There is a hole in your ESC box. There is a hole right here in your ESC box where you can run your ESC wire through. And then there's a channel right across here. Let's see. Yeah, there is a hole there. So, all right. So there is a hole on both sides of your receiver box. One side to run your servo wires and one side to run your ESC wires. And you run them through this channel from the hole in the bottom of your ESC box. Pretty clean. I like that. Now there's 2 servos, so we're gonna have to use a Y connector. Here's the second servo. This time I'm running the wire through first. Man, these are like, nope. Wow. They're literally the toughest servos I ever had to put in. Maybe they'll pull themselves down when I put the screws in. See why the other servos don't fit. I don't know how many teeth these are. Well, servo arm that comes with it says 15 tooth, so the ones on here should fit. That one goes on. Regardless, I need to plug in the servos first. I need to plug in the servos first and make sure that they are straight before we go ahead and attach these arms anyway. So, not doing that yet. I'm gonna put the Y connector on here so I don't forget. I ordered these Y connectors from either Amazon or eBay, but unfortunately when you need them, they don't come quick. They usually come from overseas. So I'll order a bag of, because they come in handy for all kind of goofy projects you want to do. So don't wait. Order them ahead of time and just have them in a drawer, because when you are in, The servo, I don't like the way this one's sitting. It needs to go in more, but I don't feel like messing with that right now. Your motor wire's on. Pop off the cover. I could not get these to slide on all the way with the cover off. So pop off the cover, slide the cover up the wires. That way you can actually grab the leads from the motor and push them all the way in so they seat correctly, or else they're going to pop out while you're running, and you don't want that, especially if there's still current going through the other leads. Oh my God. Battery still ain't in it. Zero isn't going to weigh much more, but still needs the batteries. Wow. Okay, we connected our Y connector, which is for both the servos. That's going to position number 1, and our lead from our ESC, that's going to number 2. As Tomly RC says, 1 to turn, 2 to burn. So that's quoting Tomly. You know what? Let me get some double-sided tape, so I don't want that bouncing around. Do yourself a favor, apply double-sided tape to any of the plastics. Always clean off the area with alcohol, because during the processing, the plastic releases oils, and whatever you stick to it is not going to stick very well. And for a receiver, you do not need much double-sided tape. They weigh nothing. An hour to build the car. 10 hours to get the double-sided tape started. That's it for the wires. I just have the 2 servos and the ESC. I still need to calibrate the ESC, but this is it for the wires. I was gonna install a fan, but there is a lot of the way this bracket sits that's completely out in the air, so it's gonna allow for a lot of heat dissipation the way it sits. I'm hoping that it runs cool enough. I am going to stick a temperature probe in here that I'll be able to look at from the outside, which I saw that Beauty and Beast RC had on their channel. I contacted Beast and he told me where to find it. So I'm going to be sticking that temperature probe in here so I can manage, watch the temps without having to pull off 10 body clips. These little rubber pieces are provided. They go on your servos. I really don't think these servos are going anywhere. The one on the one side, I actually had to use a piece of wood to finish getting it all the way in. So basically I put a skinny piece of wood on the one on this side of the tabs, and I tapped it in carefully. Don't go too nuts or you end up breaking something, but okay, my servos are centered, which is what I want. Now let me make sure my wheels are straight. And they look straight where they're at. Okay, that one goes right in. There we go. Just had to fiddle around with it a little bit. I'll probably increase the back to 7.2, but I have to figure out how to do that with these hobby wings. Let me put the screws in the servos. Yep, I want to turn that up. Get a little quicker steering out of it, and aggressive. Okay. All right. So stop in here for a second.
Receiver signal lost. Shutting down.
Okay, so servos are all buttoned up. Everything's wired for the receiver and tucked in the box. Now we have to calibrate the ESC. So we're going to do that real fast. This is a Hobby Wing ESC, the 250 amp G2. And we do this by, we hold the reset button down and we hit the start button. When it beeps, we'll let go of the reset button. Okay, now, first step is we want to be sure that we're in neutral. So that is my neutral position. So I'm going to hit the reset button for that. The set button, I guess. Or let's just call it the set button. I'm going to hit that. That's going to record my neutral. I'm going to hit full throttle. And hit the set button again. And now I'm going to hit reverse. And that will be either full brake or reverse. And hit the set button again. Now it should be ready. Okay. I'm going to power it off.
Receiver voltage low. Signal lost.
It's complaining I didn't charge the batteries. So the ESC is now calibrated.
Shutting down.
Now the batteries I'm going to use are these 6800 6S bashing batteries. And the problem I have with these are the straps provided in the kit are too short. Being that these batteries need to be installed on your side, I need longer straps. So until I find straps, I can't use these. I have smaller batteries, but being that this is a heavy car, it's going to take a lot of juice. I want to use these big batteries. So here's everything in it. It's a very clean install. The only wires you see are the wires from the battery packs and the wires going from the motor into the ESC box. So it's kind of how I like it. I was going to go with a fan, but I got to drape wires everywhere. And I said earlier, the way the motor sits in here, it looks like it's going to have a lot of airflow around it. So I'm hoping that it'll run cool. I am going to add a temperature probe to this. And if I see the temps getting hot, I will then add a fan. But for now, I'm going to go without a fan. I still need to change the parameters in the ESC to up the back for these servos. So I thought the steering could be faster. But here's throttle. I'm kind of scared of this thing. Oh, don't want to lose a finger. I think it's going to move. All right, I do have a programmer for the ESC that I can use to change the back, and that's how I will be doing that. Oh, also, I might try to see if I can balance these tires. I do see a little bit of a shimmy in some of them as they're spinning along. So I'm going to try to see if I can balance them. I don't have a balancer for 1/5 scale tires. So I'm going to see what are my options. Okay, so another day at this. So far we have the motor installed, the ESC installed, the 2 servos installed, the receiver is installed. I didn't like the speed of the servos on the default setting from the ESC's back. The default setting is 6.0, so we're going to bump that up to 7.4. I already confirmed on the website for the servos that they can be bumped up to 7.4, so that's what we're going to do. After we change the servo speed, we're going to go ahead and give it a quick start up on the bench just so we can see how it's looking. To upgrade my ESC, I'm going to be using a Hobby Wing LCD program box. So let's get these batteries plugged in. Let's power this thing up. As far as my batteries, these Gen A 6800 bashing batteries, the straps provided with the kit will not stretch across there. The straps are way too short. So I am going to have to get different different straps just to hold these batteries in. It looks like if I use a 4S battery, it'll be fine, but this is going to be 12S car, so I need different straps. Turn on the power up the radio first, power up the ESC, and put on my reading glasses. Alright, I'm trying a different camera here, so hopefully you guys can see this. But here's the current speed of the servo set. At the servos with the back set at the default, which is 6.0. We're going to change that to option 2, which is 7.4. I did validate that the servos are okay with 7.4. So, going to go through this programmer and find number 5. Okay, right there it says the back is at 6.0. We're going to change that. Okay, that is set at 7.4 now. Okay, that's 7.4. Just want to see what the difference is. Okay, that was 6.0. Yeah, it's definitely faster. Okay. Back voltage 7.4. So we're going to keep it there. Guess I unplug this now and we're good. So let's start her up. Show you guys what this thing looks like. Okay, here's steering. That's at 7.4 back. And here's power. I get scared every time the tires hit the plastic part of the chassis. But I already checked. And if I take this car and put it under its own weight on the tires, the space between the tires and the chassis does increase. My fear is in the back, the spacing stays about the same. And I'm scared that the tires ballooning might rub against the body after I do all that hard work. But we'll have to see. But here it is. This thing is nasty. Oh, I smell burned rubber. If you look, there's rubber shavings on my table. There it is. It's in the front where it's happening. Look at that. Rubber shavings from the tires every time they balloon and hit the... And there's where it's whirring on the car's chassis. I'm happy with this so far. I think it's a pretty clean build. All my wires were tucked in. Well, my ESC wires are tucked in through this channel. There is a hole in this box. So the wires are tucked into the channel, and the servo wires are running in right there. That is all you see. Can't get much cleaner than that. I'm happy with it. I'll install a fan on the motor if I need one later. I'm still having my Sunday morning coffee. So there's a little tire rub, as you guys can see from all the black on the table. But the good news is, when I remove the car from the blocks and it sits under its own weight, the space between the chassis and the tires does increase. These are yoga blocks, if anybody didn't know. They're excellent for working on your RC cars. So the space does increase once the car is under its own weight. So I'm hoping that there won't be any tire rub. I am worried that there might be rub on my body. I did put the body on briefly to check the clearance, and there is clearance there, so I'm just hoping. Sure does suck when when after a freshly painted body gets tire rub all over it. But the only spot that I'm concerned with as far as tire rub is more or less on this back diffuser / bumper area. I'm a little concerned there because the space isn't great there, but it's a substantial piece of plastic that I think it'll just wear at it. I don't think it'll rip it off. And also, once the car is under load and driving, the tires probably will not balloon as much. We just had the car in the air with no resistance. So, of course, the tires are going to balloon to the maximum balloonage possible. So I'm hoping it'll be good. The body is completely masked in liquid mask. I used Biddy Design liquid mask. I need to mark that up and start painting that. So as far as electronics, everything's in. The back is set to 7.4. Servos look good. So I think I don't want to drag on this video any further. I want to close it here, and we'll do a reveal when the body's painted. I'll make sure to include everything that I put in here in the description. So anybody who wants to build one of these, and I bought this from Fearless RC, the ROVAN F5, up until January 31st. There is a 10% coupon, so that'll save you some money if you are interested in picking one up for yourself. Before I forget, I did realize that there are droop screws on all four corners of this car, so you can adjust your ride height. They're located, whoa, better not do that. They're located very close to the diffs. I can't see, there it is, right there. Hopefully you guys can see where my finger's pointing, but they're right there and right there. And same in the front, right there and right there. So you have 4 droop screws so you can adjust your ride height. I think I already mentioned battery straps that come with the car will not hold your 6S batteries. 6S batteries need to be mounted sideways, and they are too tall. So the provided battery straps will not fit. I'll do a review on the body, and once we get a nice day, then I'll be able to take it outside and give it a quick run. Well, that's it for now. If you guys have any questions, please put them in the comments. I will include the list of everything I put in this car in the description. And now that this is pretty much complete, I could start building the XX10 T-Rex, which I was trying to clear the bench off so I could do that. That's gonna... I don't even know where to begin with that thing, to be honest with you. Somebody told me that the damn thing has over 4,000 parts. So that's going to be a lot of fun. So go ahead and subscribe if you haven't already done so you don't miss any of my upcoming content. And I will catch you next time. Bye. When the car is actually sitting on the tires, the distance is increased between the chassis. I don't know if you can, there you go. It goes from about less than half inch to significantly, probably almost an inch. So that should be good. Here's the back. The problem's not in the back, even though, let me see. Yeah, the problem doesn't appear to be in the back, just in the front. You do get a little bit of rubbing on the rear tires as well, but it's minor compared to the front.